One shouldn't take pleasure when reviewing a movie, but this does put a smile on my face. Hey guys, it's Shinobi Nando and welcome to a movie review, and today we're doing, that's right, Avengers Infinity War. Right off the bat, Avengers Infinity Warfare starts with a bang. Thanos is introduced as a true threat. Not only is he a force to be reckoned with, standing toe-to-toe with the MCU's heaviest hitters right from the get-go, but he's also a well-fleshed-out character. His motivations, while a deviation from the comics, may not be completely relatable, but are understandable. And like any good villain, you will see a glimmering of reason to his warped logic. If anything, in my opinion, his motivations are actually a bit better than his comic book counterpart. My main fear going into Avengers 3 was that Thanos would become another Ultron, never really being a tangible threat, nor a well-thought-out villain. Ultron is supposed to be a force of nature, not some quipping, maniacal villain like Loki. Thanos not only stays true as a threat to Earth's mightiest heroes, but also improves upon most Marvel villains by being a fully realized character. Another thing that the Russo brothers do really well is the blending of each individual character or group or team's styles and personalities. Joss Whedon, in my opinion, kind of homogenized the Avengers in Avengers 2. Each one of them becoming a quipping, Tony Stark-esque comical character, rather than the comedy coming from their different personalities clashing with each other, like the first film did. The Guardians feel like the Guardians. Cap's team has a more serious tone, reminiscent of the Captain America films such as Civil War and The Winter Soldier. And Spider-Man as always is his awkward self. Doctor Strange is the most different character-wise. He jumps from doubtful apprentice to Sorcerer Supreme, with very little to bridge that gap other than Thor Ragnarok's minor cameo. Something else the film does really well is the natural pairing of certain characters and groups, especially in terms of the tone of the scene at hand and how the characters can play off each other. Well, no spoilers here, these are scenes from the trailers that I'm going to elaborate on. Spider-Man and Iron Man still mesh well together. Doctor Strange and Tony's egos really do clash, as you would expect them to do. And Thor in particular, after Ragnarok, feels right at home with Star-Lord, Rocket Raccoon, and the rest of the Guardians. While Captain America and co have the more grounded or serious tone to the film, while still maintaining that Marvel charm and humor. One criticism I hear this film get a lot is that the pacing is really fast, or even exhausting. And this film does move at a breakneck speed. And while the pacing does move very quickly, I personally never found it stressful or hard to follow, and no scene is forgettable or throwaway. If anything, I'd argue that the movie needs to move along at this steady pace because the amount of characters that share the screen time and their character progression personally and both for the plot. This film has a ton to cover, by the way, but it does it so very efficiently, in my opinion anyway. Everything is necessary, everything is relevant. Now don't get me wrong, some of the characters are just kind of there. They don't tend to get a lot of screen time or character progression, and some of them are merely there to fight or just in the film because it'd be weird if they weren't included. A lot of them are just there to be side characters to the main character threads, as they tend to be in other kind of Marvel films such as The Winter Soldier and Civil War. However, given that this is an ensemble movie 10 years in the making, no character feels wasted being built up from the previous film. One of the highlights of this film are the action scenes. And personally, as a comic book fan, it's great that we finally have a threat where you can really see some characters' abilities and powers shine. War Machine in particular finally no longer feels neutered, for once actually being able to use his full lethal arsenal. This is another thing the film does really well. All the characters fight and act the way that they should. Star-Lord uses his tricks and gadgets and wits. New abilities and upgrades are not forgotten from previous films. And the end scene seen in the trailer of Wakanda is akin to something out of The Lord of the Rings. Now for the nitpicking. Going back to one of my earlier points, if you're not a Marvel fan or fully caught up on all the MCU films, you're going to find yourself a tad lost. Before coming into this, you should have at least watched every Marvel film since Captain America, the first Avenger. Certain films will have less of an impact, but definitely do fill in a lot of the gaps. Remember guys, this film cannot stand alone in a vacuum. It is a culmination of 10 years of movies and character development and plot progression that all come to a head finally in this one particular film. Some people might see that as a flaw. I personally think that there's nothing else like this film. No other franchise comes close. Perhaps only Star Wars or Lord of the Rings having similar kind of tones or achievements in this sense. But those are only 3 films. This is 18. And there are still many more to come. Another gripe for me as a comic book fan is, while on one hand, things for me were really, really cool. I love seeing the comic book characters come to life. Russo brothers are very, very good, especially like I said in the action scenes. The story and the plot are kind of predictable, especially the ending. I would have loved to have been a non-Marvel fan or somebody who just enjoyed the films and watched that ending. When I watched people leave the cinema, their minds were blown. Their faces had these looks of confusion, sadness, excitement for the new film, while I was left kind of disappointed. Not because the film's not any good, it's more because I know exactly what's going to happen. I'm sort of jealous that I'm not going to have these feelings of sadness or loss or confusion or wonder that all these other fans seem to have. And that's about as close to a spoiler as I'm going to get in this, so don't worry. So guys, what did you think of my first ever movie review? Did you like the outfit? I had to dig out everything Marvel I pretty much owned. I'm sorry about the background. We'll try to improve that in future reviews. Normally, this is the part of the video where I tell you to tell me what you think in the comments. However, for this kind of thing, I'd say try to avoid it if you can, unless you've seen the film. While Thanos does demand silence, not everyone's adhering to the Mad Titan's demands. If you enjoyed this, please give this a like. This is my first ever movie review. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing and don't forget to hit the notification bell. Or you can follow me on social media. There's links in the description down below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.